All right, so yesterday I was too tired to finish. I just had to go to bed. So I just want to finish up. So we left up yesterday talking about working at the screen printing company was definitely something that I enjoyed immensely, especially over the marketing company. Like I said, people were kind of like talking crap about T, the owner, which I don't know, it was weird for me because I really liked him. Because he was like always really nice to me and accommodating, and I thought he was like kind of like a genius, and I like wanted to like please him, and I knew that if I did well, like for example, like one of the first days I worked there, like I think it was like right after I learned how to like output files, because you have to output the file, like after you create the art you have to output the files to like this rip thing where it goes to the darkroom and they burn it onto the screens, right? So it took like a lot of time for me to learn how to do that. Like my assistant now, I am like putting off teaching him how to do that just because it's like so like time consuming and I don't want to deal with it, which is not a good thing because I'm the only one that can do it at the moment. But anyway, with that said, the first time I learned how to do that, like the very first job I output, he brought into me and showed me, which I thought was really cool. So like brownie points right there. But like when I first started there, Scott like always impressed me because he would like know like all the fonts. Like if I was trying to match a font, I'm like, do you know what font this is? Jersey M65, or you like you can get it here at DeFont or whatever. And he always knew all that stuff, and I always thought that was like super cool because I didn't know that kind of stuff. Like, how do you remember all this stuff? And I just wanted to be that person. And he would like talk in like Pantone colors, and like T would come in there like because they had to do these things called color separations, which I didn't know how to do yet. Was still learning how to do like just normal stuff. But I was like super impressed by it. Like one time I sat and watched Scott do it, and it was like super cool. It's like you have to separate the artwork into these color channels, and then you like layer them on top of each other in Photoshop. Right? Like T would come in there and check their steps because he was like, he knew how to do them. Obviously, he knew how to do everything there. So like he knew how to do the art department, he knew how to do the darkroom, he knew how to print because he was like a lead printer there. Even though he was the owner of the company, he was the lead printer, like and like the production manager, and like would do the schedule and do the price, and like he did like a lot of stuff for being the owner. Like usually the owner just sits back and hires other people to do that, right? He was very involved, and he was very much like he'd make like these rounds, even though he was on the press printing. Like he would take like the time, like turn it over to one of the other printers because he had other printers that worked with him, and like walk around and check on everything and make sure everything was like. But as far as the art department, he didn't come in there a lot because Scott was in there, and Scott was the art director, and they had like his right hand man basically. Like they did to talk and do stuff. So like I was really curious about T because he was like kind of an anomaly. Like I'd hear people talking crap about him, but there was like how I felt about him. Like I thought he was just like the coolest person, the coolest boss. He'd like if I worked hard, he would give me a raise. Like I didn't have to ask for it. Like he just like, knew that like I deserved it, and I'd never had a boss like that before. Usually my bosses were always like kind of assholes, but he wasn't. He was always like super nice to me, and so like it was hard for me to like see this side of him that everybody was like would talk shit about. But one person that never talked crap about him was Scott. I said to Scott, I was like, you like T, right? Like, am I the only one here that likes him? And he was like, no, I like him. I love my job or whatever. Cause he'd been there for a long time. And like, I figured he would tell me, and we were kind of friendly, like, and everybody else did stuff out in production. And I was so curious about production because I didn't know anything about the process. That was the only thing I didn't know. Like I had learned a little bit because I had to output to the darkroom, so I had to learn like line mesh and things like that, which was a little weird, I thought, because I'm like, why am I like why but like so yeah, and the art department tends to get blamed for everything if something goes wrong. Like, oh, it's an art problem and the art room fucked it up. It's not always the art room, just for the record. Like nobody checks the art department, they just expect us to be correct, and it's caused problems since then. But Scott was pretty thorough and pretty good, and at that time we had 3 people in there, so it was like everything seemed to be going smoothly. So T wasn't in there very much. So I was always like asking questions about him, like, oh, what's going on with this guy? Like I wanted to know more about it for one, and I wanted to make myself more important at the company as much as possible. So Scott would answer questions and tell me kind of funny stories about T, which I enjoyed because, I didn't know anything about him, and, I wanted to know more about him, and like like how he got started and stuff. Like, it just was a super interesting concept to me because I didn't know anything about screen printing, and I was just really enjoying my job here. Promote me because he seemed to have no problem doing that. So I figured, like, if I put the work in and I learned about like the printing process and like all that, maybe I could impress him and like, move up. I was even thinking maybe I'd be a printer one day because that seemed like super interesting to me. I want to be like him, where he knew how to do everything. I want to be that person too. Give him a break. Right? Because that's how I think. And it wasn't just him that I would have done that for. I did that like everywhere I worked. Like, that's why they always made me manager, because I was always like the right hand man. Like, hey, I'll do that. Hey, I'll step up. I'll stay late. I'll close. And that's how you get there. I told you, like, there was like this weird little, like, I just felt like I was meant to be there because I felt like this weird connection with him. And I wasn't viewing it as something like a connection, like as a relationship connection. It was more of a partnership. I'm going to go places here. Like, this is like where like all this hard work and all this like pain and suffering and all this stuff I've had to go through. It was all for this moment to get this job and be here where I am right now. Right. Very, what's the word? Just like wide-eyed and, like a doe in headlights type thing, you know what I mean? And I really, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but like, just looking back, and this has like been kind of difficult for me going back and like going through my life like this. Like, it makes me think about like old times and like it's like almost like reliving them. And all my, like with Ray, with Brandon, with Josh, and like make it kind of like brings out these emotions that I didn't know I still had, especially after this last one, because I'm still like grieving that, so it's kind of interesting way to go through your life like this. Like, I have never done that before. I've never really analyzed myself the way I've been doing by doing this podcast, so it's very healthy for me. I suggest everybody do this. You do these videos maybe and maybe you post, maybe you don't, but the fact that like people are into it and people have encouraged me to do it is why I post them, and I look forward to it. I mean, it's like a job because it's a lot of work, but like at the same time, like I look forward to it and I enjoy it. So life at the screen printing company was quite good. I was very happy there, but things were like trouble in paradise at home, right? Because my husband at the time, my ex-husband, he was like, he just hated like that I worked there, and I don't know why. Which sounds insane, but this place printed for big companies. I'm not going to mention them just because but I mean, we were doing a lot of stuff for a little team of people. Like, I think there's like 14 people total that worked there. So, and she had a larger staff than like how it runs now. There's just a lot of stuff going on there. There's like several, I think I want to say like 2 or 3 people in the darkroom. Now there's like 1, but it was popping when I started in 2017. And from then on, I was just very happy there. Well, I wasn't there too long when, because T's son worked there, and Blake, and he was what they call the staging department, which is kind of like where he would count in the shirts for each order, and they had like an order form. You had to make sure, they had 5 larges, 5 medium, whatever, more than that, but you know what I mean. Actually, so it has to have somebody smart and good with math, not me. And then his girlfriend worked there in accounting and did like the accounting stuff, right? So there came a time, and I found it out through hearsay, because it's not like the boss just talks about this kind of stuff, right? So T came in the office and like just directly and asked me to like write a check or something for him, which I assume Nicole usually did for him. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, because he had like really sloppy handwriting, and I was the only other chick there. I was like, is Nicole not here or something? And he was like, yeah, she's gonna be teaching, or do you know anything about QuickBooks or something? Like, I forget how the conversation went, but he was like, ended up asking me. She wasn't there that day, but he didn't really say why. And then he said, do you know how to do QuickBooks? And I was like, oh shit. He's like thinking about getting rid of her, or she's thinking about leaving, or something's going on here where he needs me to learn how to do her job. It was kind of like slow, and I would go home early, but I also worked at the school, so it wasn't a big deal to me because I had this other job that paid me very well. So I was just like, whatever, like more hours for me, yeah, please. And I was salary at the school, so I like got the same amount no matter what, but I could get like more hours if I stayed longer, and more money if I stayed at T Production. So I was like, oh, I can do this. I'll fill those extra hours. Like, all this stuff was running through my head. I didn't really know what was going down or anything like that. So he's like, oh, and then I told him I did, even though I didn't. So then I went home and like researched it, of course, because I lied, because that was my opportunity to kind of like move up, right? So I told him I could, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna have her start teaching you tomorrow, like everything that she does up there. And I'm just like, yay, you know, like super excited, like I was gonna be like learning some new stuff and whatever. And before I went in there, I found out like what was going on, because Scott like always had the DL on everything. So apparently this girl, I mean, I'm not trying to talk shit if she happens to stumble across this video, but I mean, come on, girl. I was like, the walk of shame. If you have ever walked the walk of shame, that was it. So she was dating Blake, which was T's son, and worked there for his dad and with him, and was pregnant by another man. Yeah, that's the story. So basically she cheated on Blake and then got pregnant with this other guy's baby, and then shows up for work and told everybody, well, Blake knew about it and told everybody. And so T knew about it and was probably disgusted with this chick, and like, you can't just fire her, you know, that's this problem with hiring like significant others, right? And he got this like Young and the Restless stuff going on, which is probably why he didn't have many females working there. So that happened. So I was like, oh my God, this is like awkward, you know? So, and they had broken up, so they weren't together, but she was still adamant about coming to work. She didn't even know about it, of course, because he wanted her to go away and he wanted someone to fill her position before she did. Yeah. So, I'm like, okay, this is a good time. So I went up there very nervous, because I'm like, I barely knew this chick, and girls like, I don't know, they make me nervous as it is, just because they're like always mad at me or hating me. So it's like, I have to try a little harder, and I don't really like them that much. No offense to the females out there. I mean, some females I really enjoy, but you know, it's just like some men are just sucky, and they give all men a bad name. Same thing goes for women. And I just am quite frankly tired of it. Tired of them ruining all the men out there that are even decent enough to date, and then they have all these problems because of you. I go up there, and she's like sitting in there and whatever. I was like, yeah, so T told me that he wants you to teach me stuff. And she's like, yeah, he hates me. And she said, I'm just like, and I'm the type that's just like, I don't like to get involved in that shit, like drama. And I'm like, oh, you know. And then T comes in, he's like directly behind me, comes in, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna show her this and this and this. And she's like, and then she starts yelling at him, which always surprised me, because I would never yell at him, like, just because he was so nice, and he's the boss. You don't yell at the boss. Who do you think you are? She like was always like, you hate me, you're gonna fire me, or is that what you're gonna do, fire me? And I like was so quick on my feet. I was just like, oh, no, he's like, he just like for when you go on maternity leave. That was quick, right? Like looked at her and like walked out. Because he doesn't like to address like emotional situations like that, as I've learned. She taught me, and it was relatively easy to do. But so I just was making small talk with her, and she like started crying, and oh gosh, I hate that so much. So like I was like, it'll be okay. I was like, you know, whatever. So I made her feel better, and then I did tell her. I was just making small talk just to like stop hugging her, but I was like, do you have morning sickness? Because she was like eating these crackers. She's like, no, I don't have any yet. And I'm thinking, yeah, she's probably gonna, because I had this so bad. I was like, I just wanted to tell her about this protein shake thing. So I did. I was like, well, if you do, like, the only thing that I had it really bad, and the only thing that helped me was these protein shakes. So just a heads up if you like ever feel say protein shakes. So she's like, oh yeah, whatever. And then kept training me or whatever. Well, then like the next week, I feel like she didn't come in every day, what do I know, but a couple days later or something, she didn't show up again. I think it was the next week, because I ended up having to do payroll, which she had taught me how to do. I noticed when I printed it, because she wasn't there, because she got morning sickness. So I was printing out the timesheets, because you have to print them out and go around and have everybody like check their hours and sign them, which I definitely did in the beginning, because I didn't want to make any mistakes, because, you know, math bad, which I didn't mention that to T either, that I was math. I went around and I printed out Nicole's, and I saw she had like 25 hours on there, but I knew she hadn't been there because she wasn't there all week, and like payroll's on like Thursday or something. So I'm like, what the hell? How does she have 25 hours? It like works 2 hours, you know? So like I printed it out and I brought it to T's attention, because, you know, that's what I do. I mean, right-hand men have to be allegiant to the boss, okay? I like showed it to him. I'm like, this says she has 24 hours, but I think that's a mistake, because she hasn't like been here all week. And he was like, oh yeah, that's because she knows how to log in from home. And I was like, what? I mean, I guess his son, Blake, had showed her how to log in from home. Okay, that seems fair. But anyway, I was like, okay, but, and he's like, yeah, I just told her that she could round up her hours if she was below whatever. And I'm like, or maybe it was like below 20 hours, like she was part-time, so if she had below 20, like let's say she worked 18, he would just give her the extra 2 hours. Okay, seems fair. I mean, that's teaching somebody how to work hard for their money. Anyway, so I was like, yeah, but she didn't work at all. So like she put 20 hours on here and she didn't work any hours. That's like stealing money and unfair. As an employee of yours, that's not fair. Can I get free 20 hours? So he's like, no, yeah, you're right. And so this was like the perfect opportunity for him to fire her for stealing money, because that's basically what she was doing. So he had me like type up this thing about like a letter of separation and basically saying her position was eliminated. And he didn't even mention the stealing thing, which was fine. But if she like pushed back against it, then, you know, he would probably go that route. I think he ended up paying her unemployment just to, because he's the type that like just doesn't want to deal with like drama or anybody's problems and just, you know, here's some money, go away. As, you know, and the time went by a little bit. Blake, his son, ended up leaving and going off to college, and we had a replacement come in for him. And the replacement in the staging department, this is about 1 year I'd been there, was a girl, and her name was Gabby. And Gabby was Tony's niece, because he liked to hire family members. So I said that Blake worked there, right? But also his son Ben also worked there. That's the one I saw in my interview with the long hair, young. I think he was 18 when I started there. And then his stepson, Brayden, worked there also from his previous marriage, because I guess he was married before but divorced and all this stuff. Was like one of those stepdads that stuck around like Sandy had. So I had some respect for that. And Brayden was kind of like my friend, because he was kind of in my age range. I think he's the same age as Cody. So, I mean, 8 years, maybe a little less. And he was like really goofy and like joked around and whatever. And I liked Brayden. And I actually liked Gabby too. And she was young. She was only like 18. I'm pretty sure she was like 18 when she started too. So she's not much younger than Ben. And so now we had all these family members working there, which T liked to do that and hire his son's like friends and stuff. So it was just like the circle, as they called it, of people that worked there. I wasn't in the circle because I wasn't family or friends. I would just earned it on my own with my degree. So, I mean, we were just, you know, worked hard for it. Like, so we were the square. We were the fishbowl. So anyway, so in comes Gabby. And Gabby, she was good. I actually helped train her a little bit, but Blake did most of the training. And she's kind of like the right-hand man to the art department, because we write notes and stuff on the order forms, but she retrieves the order forms, reiterates the notes to the printers, reads our notes and bases how she does stuff if there's any change, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into the art of screen printing. But yeah, so a lot of communication with her. So I got to know her pretty well. And I thought she was just, you know, adorable. She was like a small little girl. And like, and I remember Judah had a huge crush on her. And he was significantly older than her, considering she was like only 18. So one time, her car was needed a new battery or something. I was like, oh, like my husband can do that for you, because Josh would work on cars and stuff, and he would do it for like some beer or something. Like, it was really ridiculous. I was like, yeah, you buy him some beer, he'll like change that battery for you. She's like, really? Because it was like stranded. She had a second job at this like pizza place, and that's where it was, but not starting, and she needed to like replace battery up there. And it's like a cold ass fucking winter day. And I felt bad. I didn't want to, like, sit in the car, or, like, while she was standing out there with Josh. So I stood out there with her and was, like, talking, freezing our asses off. Boyfriend's sitting over in the car, like, smoking weed or something. I don't know. I was like, dude, what a loser. So, and I'd already heard them talking about how loser her boyfriends were before that. So, like, I got to see it firsthand. That guy, like, worked there, too, for, like, a day and then, like, quit or something. Like, whatever. But she was a good worker, and she was good, and I was, like, her uncle, so, like, cool, whatever. It worked like an actual good employee that's related to Tony. Yay. Shutdown happened, right? Which was a little devastating to the company. I was about 3 years when I was working there for 3 years, and everything was going well, swell. I was working my way up the ladder, you know, things were good. And then that happened. So because of the type of work we do like events and schools and sports and all that stuff was getting shut canceled. So we were like losing jobs left and right. And it was a little concerning. So then his solution was having both Scott and myself work from home, because Judas couldn't, because he didn't have like internet in 2020. I mean, what the hell? But anyway, I hate it. Like, I need to get out of my house and away from my family, because it's like my break away from them, right? And they were home because they didn't have school, I think it was just like a couple months that lasted. But like it didn't go back to normal right away, and like everything didn't just fall right back into place. So we started like printing face masks, which was like a great thing, because we needed something to print and people needed those. So, but we ended up coming back from working at home, and how it worked was Scott would work in the actual art department office, and I would work in the accounting office, since I had this whole other office. I'm the only one that was in it, and sometimes T. And I would just come at the end of the day, like work from home, and come at the end of the day and do accounting after all the printers left. I mean, it was awesome, let me tell you. So like, I never got to see anybody. Like, I just hated that whole situation. I think that during this time of being like on the shutdown or whatever, that Scott started getting in his head that maybe he doesn't want to work at the screen printing company anymore, because he'd been doing it for so long, and he'd got to spend all this additional time with his daughter, and like, and he lived kind of far away from the shop. She was getting ready to go to school and stuff, and he was just like, I can't be that far away from her. What if something happens? And he was just like, I'm just too far away, and like, now that my daughter's getting older and she's gonna be in school and stuff, like, I want to be closer to home. That was what he was telling me. So he had like started like conspiring, and I'm sure he like probably came up with the idea during the shutdown when he was at home and had all this free time. So anyway, so Scott was like wanting to leave, right? Which, yay, right? Okay, so it was like this bittersweet thing for me, because I'm like, okay, so if Scott's leaving, that means like T's gonna need a new art director. It's gonna be me, because I have the degree, I have like the experience, I've like been a manager, like I can do that. I'm a leader, I can do this. This is like my dream come true. But the only, like, I didn't want to see Scott go, because I like, what, you're gonna leave me here with Judah? I hate him. And I didn't know Judah was gonna get it, because Judah had been there significantly longer than I had been. That's the only like glorious thing that came out of this, because I didn't want Scott to leave, and it would have put us down and we were going into busy season. And T used to do this thing, like if somebody wanted to like quit and put in their 2 weeks, he would just make them go. He wouldn't let them do the whole 2 week. It's like he didn't care. He always said it was bad for morale. But I think it's a little bit different from being on the outside looking in. I think it's more of hurt feelings. That's what I think. So when Scott, his partner for the last, I don't know, 16, 15 years, whatever, told him that he wanted to put in his 2 month. And the reason he wanted to do that is because, like, I had been there 3 years, and I was pretty savvy, and he taught me a lot of stuff. And in fact, he was teaching me stuff that I thought it was kind of weird he was teaching me. Kind of makes sense now, that he was trying to leave. So 2 month, because I still had to learn separations. If you remember the color separations where they divide it into those color channels, I still hadn't learned that. That was like one of the last things I had to learn, and they take time to learn. So he put in 2 months just to, like, for the whoever was going to take over his position, he was willing to stay for 2 months to train them on how to do it. And then you'll have to wait till February 1st to get the next season. Woo! It's going to be a good one. I've been working on it for like 2 months, you guys. And then after this, I'm going to post my sibling session with Travis, and then the director's cut, and then you'll have to just wait for the rest. But I might have some little skits and stuff in between. We are going to bring some skits to the mix, so I hope you guys enjoy those. I have lots of costumes and stuff, so I thought we could have some fun with it and be our funny selves, because we really are funny. We're not just all doom and gloom. Scott put in his 2 month, and Tony knew that was going to happen. He was like, I'm surprised he's letting me say. He didn't. He was like, all right, you can just be done. So I never got to learn how to do subs, and I was a little disappointed in T for doing that. A little disappointed. So T wouldn't let him do that, and yeah. Scott went. And that was the end of Scott, and I became art director. He did ask me to be art director, and he gave me a significant raise, which was great. And I was just cloud-eyed, and I remember telling my ex-husband about it. I have the text messages and everything, and kind of in panic mode when Scott left. Yeah, and I could tell he was upset, and that's why he made him go, because he was upset about it. And he told me he had confidence in me. And I wanted to help him. I knew he was panicked, and I was like, I gotta do this. I was a little nervous myself, like, can I do this? Some of T's mentorship. I mean, he did help me as much as he could, but he's a busy man. And he had confidence in me. So I thought I was pleasing him. I was doing what I was supposed to do. We hired in another guy. Lots of things going on there, and time progressed. Things kind of escalated between me and my ex-husband. Like, it wasn't getting any better, and he was severely jealous of my job and my success, and I was just kind of pulling away from him. And he wasn't like, I felt like I couldn't talk to him anymore. Because he didn't want to hear about my job, and I was like excited. I was like moving up, and like I was art director now. Like I wanted someone to be proud of me. My husband would have been nice, but he wasn't, and he would just fight about it. So I just, it got weird. One of my old friends, from high school, actually, we used to ride the bus together. His name was Dale, and he actually dated my best friend, Andrea. And we were kind of friendly, but sometimes I sit with him on the bus or whatever, and whatever. Like, it was no big deal. He's just a friend, and we kind of reconnected on Facebook. So we're just kind of talking friendly, okay? And that went on for like a little bit, and I didn't tell my husband I was talking to this, because he would have been, I already knew, okay, so here's the thing. I knew he would be like jealous, but it wasn't anything like that. Like, it was just like friends. But at some point, the dude was like, told me that he was falling in love with me, which, yeah, that fucking tends to happen, right? But that was, the feeling was not mutual. Like, I was married, for one thing. Like I was kind of like mad that he did it, because they always like kind of fuck shit up by doing that, right? Like, great, okay, like I had like this friendship I thought that was developing, and it's so much more than that. Like, this guy's like, of course. So I was like, well, I can't reciprocate that feeling, and I'm married, and so I kind of like just cut him off, which I felt bad about. So like a couple days, like maybe a week even, like later, I miss you. I'm sorry. I can't like just cut you off, but like there's nothing that's gonna happen here or whatever. So I don't even know exactly what I said, but whatever I said. And my husband goes through my phone, which I have nothing to really hide, but he sees that, and he just takes that as, oh, you're talking to some other dude, right? And like takes screenshots of it and sends it to my brother. And my brother's like, what is this? Because there's like really nothing there, because I wasn't doing anything as usual. This tends to happen. So then anyone like, and here's the thing, like I told you, Josh started to get jealous. So like he was already accusing me of stuff. So now it's like, oh, now he's got some proof that I was like, well, you can't accuse me of stuff without proof that I'm doing anything, because I'm not. And I would always say that, but then all of a sudden now he's got this proof, right? I'm like, okay. So a proof of what? Like, you're accusing me of like my boss and things of that nature. This is not my boss. It's just a friend. Well, you said you missed him. I was like, yeah, because I cut him off, because he's like, I was like, did I? Like, I can't help what other people say to me, but yeah, okay. So I stopped talking to him, because hitting after that second hit, like I told you, like I was trying to kind of find a way out. So, but my loyalty and my honesty and my, like, the trust is important to not lose that, regardless of if me and him stay together. Because it's like the same thing that happened with Brandon. Like, he automatically assumed that I was cheating on with Josh, which I did not. And Josh knows I didn't. So, and he was accused about it with his ex-wife. She was like accused. I was like, dude, we didn't get together till long after you were gone, girl. But they always like can't face, have any self-awareness about what they were doing wrong, which is why it actually happened. Like, me and Josh were already on the out. It had nothing to do with this Dale guy. Certainly was not attracted to him. But knowing that he liked me and then like, re-engaging with him was not the right thing to do. So I made a mistake, but whatever. I didn't do anything wrong. He knows I'm an honest woman, and he was just like, he forgave me or whatever, but he wouldn't shut up about it. It's like, oh, damn. I was like, dude, if you forgive me, then you have to forgive me. You can't keep talking about it. I cut the dude off. I'm not going to talk to him again. Like, whatever. Like, I always do want things to work. Like, So he wouldn't let it go. He just wouldn't let it go. And like, it just, like, I was like, this is how it's going to be for the rest of my life. The rest of my life. I'm never going to not hear about this, and I didn't even do anything wrong. I'm not going to defend something that, is ridiculous. Either if you don't forgive me, then like, let's part ways. Oh no, I forgive you. I love you. I can't be without you. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, then shut up. He was all getting wasted or whatever, and he just came in and started talking shit to me for no reason. Just out of the blue, just started talking shit. My friend was there, and she was like, hey, don't talk to her like that. And he was like, start talking shit to her. I was like, hey, did you get out of here? Like, what is wrong with you? So that was just kind of the last straw. And then I see my son sitting over here because he was like on the computer, like out in the living room. And he's like, hearing his dad like acting like that. And I was just like, done. So my friend left because she was dating my brother at the time, and he was there too. And they both left. And then like maybe I kind of got into it. And then he like yelled at me that he was going to divorce me, and like ran out the door and left that night. Like, okay, I guess that's what we can do. We can just leave the home. Didn't say shit to your kid who's sitting right here like, where'd my dad go? I would never do that. I would never just leave my kids and be like, and not say anything to them. I was like, okay, this is his choice. Even better. Like, he just told me he wants a divorce. He just left. He just like started this fight with me, and like, and I'm done with this shit. Like, it's never gonna end, and I'm not living like this for the rest of my life, right? Like, he tried to come back, of course, because they always do, and next day, and I was like, nope. You want a divorce? We're getting a divorce. I changed the locks. I'm pretty sure I changed the locks. Couldn't even get in my house now. Bye. Oh, you can afford this? Yep. And I stuck to it. I did not let him come back. And that was hard to do. And my sister even said to me, like, how did you do that? Because she said, she divorced her husband, and it took a long time for her to do that because she had to work up the nerve to do it. Not because she couldn't afford to. She's a nurse. She's the breadwinner. For me, it's not so much about being alone. It's like just being afraid of, like, in this house all alone with no man and no security and no comfort. That's what I miss. Those are the things I miss, I've never been someone who's been alone, because for one, I come from a big family, and I don't do well alone. I do well as a team. So I made that decision, and I did it. And that was the end of that chapter, and it was 14 years. And like, for the first time ever, I was like alone and had kids, and that was all I knew for a long time. So yeah, that was that, and I got a little scared because, like, here's the thing: once Josh was gone, like when he wasn't there, and I was there just with me and the kids, and I was a little scared. I had like a little bit of heartache then too. It didn't last long though, not as long as this heartache I'm having now. It was like 2 months in. Like, I thought it'd be gone, It's getting better. I say that all the time, but it is getting better, I promise. Yeah, so he was gone, and I just felt like this huge burden got lifted off me because it was quiet, it was calm, and I was like, I like this. I'm not yelling, I'm not defending, I'm not like on the defense, like, walking on eggshells, waiting like for when is it gonna snap, when is it, So it was nice, and calm and quiet, and it was shortly after I separated from Josh, and I like got this phone call in the middle of the night. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and it was my brother Lucas. Never called me at that. Never. This is like, let me just tell you, this is what happened. That like when he called me that night, that's the first time this has ever happened. He called me, and I was like, Lucas called me at 2:00 in the morning. What's this about? And him and his girlfriend at the time had some issues. She was my friend. She's still my friend. But they had some issues that I'm not going to get into because that's his story to tell. But in the past, so like I thought maybe something had happened with them. So I answered the phone, and he's like crying, and he's like, I'm really depressed. And I'm like, Lucas, I was like, he was talking about he wanted to kill himself. He's like, I just want to kill myself. And I'm like, Lucas, like, what is going on? Like, what happened? He's like, it's just how I feel. Like, he was like basically saying like nothing happened, but like to me something had to have happened to like create that. And I think maybe it was just like his girlfriend at the time talking about like maybe separating or something, and he was really in love with her and wanted to marry her. He wanted to have children with her, but she didn't want to have children, which I don't blame her. But so it was like just some craziness. Like, he was like just really depressed about something, and he wouldn't really like, he was just saying he felt like this is how he felt. So I was like concerned. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Do you want to stay on the phone with me? But I kind of talked him off that ledge or whatever. And then like it was kind of brought up about them separating, and him asking me if I would, like, because he had just bought this house, and if I wanted to move in with him, because now I was staying at that trailer still and renting it. He wanted me to move in with him. And I was like, that'd be great, because I was paying like $1,100 a month for that trailer, and his rent, because he got it on VA loan or whatever, was only $800. And I said, I could pay you $600 and still be paying half the rent that I'm paying. Yeah, I moved in with my brother, and we lived together for like for a year, before I bought my house. So that was an experience all in itself, but we can talk about that more later in life. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, just a couple of years ago. So we're getting pretty close to the present. So I was no longer with Josh, and I told you I had like this weird admiration and whatever going for tea, and I was like, what if I like pursued him? You know? I'm sitting here kind of having like this little schoolgirl crush on him for like years that I've worked for him. I mean, not thinking anything would ever come of it because I was married, but now I'm not. I should ask this guy out, but I was too nervous. I don't ask guys out, and like he was my boss. It seemed super inappropriate. I just had this connection with him, and I thought, yeah, you know, it could be maybe he'd be interested in me. I didn't know. He didn't seem like he was, so like I didn't want to push it, you know, and make it awkward, so I didn't. We're like contract screen printing, so like we like marketing companies come bring us jobs through their customers to print for them, and then, you know, they get like contract pricing and they upcharge whatever. They're like the middleman, and we don't have to do that. We don't have to do the sales part of it, which is kind of nice. It seems kind of like nice, but the salespeople, I mean, only if they know what they're talking about, which like one of them did, and there was like way more than one. So they're very frustrating to deal with. So I can see Scott's frustration there. You don't know anything about printing shirts? Don't do it. And that what now I do, and it's like, it makes me, you know, because I end up doing all their work for them while they collect all the money. Is grand. Once the lockdown happened, we started serving the public, because T would do stuff for people that like he knew or like were friendly with, or, you know, whatever. He would do that. He had like a business card, so that was like his thing, to get the orders and then bring them to us. So he was like kind of like his own sales rep when he felt like doing it. So there was this one guy, his name was Jared, and he owned like a tree service or something that we did his shirts for, but he was also like in this band or something, but it was like, I don't know. So he got a hold of me, or he came in, was like, hey, so I needed some band shirts. I know this is last minute, because he needed them like the following week. Like it was like a Friday, and he needed them the following Friday. I'm like, okay. And we were like in the middle of busy season, and I was extremely busy at that point because it was right after Scott had left, and I was art director now, and I was just busy. So it was actually a year after Scott left, but anyway. So but I was still busy. So I gave the job to Judah, because he was one of my assistants. So if I had to pass some art to him, and usually those big jobs like that I would not give to anybody else, but he was like, he did color separation, so I kind of figured like if he did the art for it, he could handle that and do the separation, and I didn't have to really be part of it at all. So I was in there like going over the like artwork that he wants, and he was pretty specific about what he wanted, and I'm like, okay. And he left. So the next day I brought it to Judah, and I'm like, hey, this guy came in yesterday, here's all his notes, here's what he wants. If you could work something up for him, I would greatly appreciate it, because I'm very busy, so, you know, whatever. And like sends it directly to the customer instead of like running it by me first, which was a huge mistake, because then the Jared guy gets a hold of me and is like, hey, it says, oh boy, that's the subject line of this. And basically he says, hello, Amy. Obviously, you have not seen this effort from Judah. Plastic, scissors, and glue stick may be considered classic. Horror movie poster could be a good direction to steer a designer toward. So he's basically like, I'm very unhappy with this artwork, which he attached. He said, sorry, Amy, I think you are on the right page, but Judah's juvenile effort is a no-go politely. I don't want to be harsh if this is an intern, because I already sound like a bitchy Karen, the school teacher. That's what this guy writes me, and I'm like, oh man. And his subject line said, oh boy, and that's what I was saying. I'm like, oh boy, great. Now I have to take over this artwork and do it, because this dude did like the bare minimum, didn't do anything that I asked him to do, because I didn't tell him to do that. I was like, I'll take over this project from here. I'm sorry the execution was not to your liking. I was hoping I had explained this accurately to him, but he must have not been feeling creative. Ha. So anyway, so this guy, the only reason he's significant is because then, okay, so here's what happened. But like a week, like this guy had that show, and he's like, he wanted me to go to it. He's like, there's going to be some uber happy people in the show that's coming up this weekend. It's going to be a fun showcase. It'd be nice if you could finagle a little time for yourself to come out and indulge. Check out the people enjoying your work. Check out some bands. Allow me to buy you a beverage, he says. Which, okay, like, no, I'd never been invited to go out to a show like that, and it was his band. I did the artwork for it. He's like, yeah, you can, mingle. I was art director. I was like, okay, this might be a good opportunity for me to go get my name out there and get some more people, get some more, customers. T had mentioned that, like, he knew this guy, this Jared guy, that because he did, like, cut down some trees or something for him, so they were, like, kind of friendly, and he had been doing stuff for him and this Negative Nancy stuff, and he's like, I think I'm going to check out this show. So I was like, I really wanted to go, and I wanted to kind of get to know him, and, like, now I was the art director, I was, like, his right-hand man, so now I, like, wanted to, like, know more about him and, like, have a partnership with him in the way that, like, through the company, not through, like, in any other way, although I was becoming, like, more attracted to him and like, over time I had, because I worked very closely with him, especially after Scott left. I was starting to dig him a little bit, and now I had this opportunity where I could, like, maybe look at him in a different light, which I was. So I was like, I really wanted to go. So I invited my mom, which I often go do stuff with my mom. So I was like, hey, would you be interested in, like maybe a girls' night, me and you, and going to go check out this show with me, so I didn't have to go alone? And in hopes that I would run into T there and we'd be able to talk and mingle and, check out this band and mingle and make some connections, So we went, and it was a good time. It was fun. And T did show up, and we talked almost the entire time. And it was actually really fun and cool. And, but, like, just on a level of, like, industry people, like, we were talking a lot about work or whatever, and it wasn't like, I think there might have been some flirting, but it wasn't like a date by any means. For one thing, my mom was there, and apparently Jared, like, sat there at the table and was talking with my mom and bought us drinks, and I didn't even pay attention because I was, like, so, like, into this conversation I was having with T, right? And getting, like, just getting to know him better, and, like, him, like, hey, I'm your right hand man now, and I wanted him, I just wanted him to like me, and maybe it would go somewhere, who knows, right? So then we go out to watch the music, and he wanted to go out and watch the music, and he's like, you want to come out there with me? And I'm like, yeah, because there was, like, a lot of people there. So we went out there, and we're watching whatever band was playing at that time, and there's, like, a lot of people around us, and he's just, like, kind of put his hand around my waist and pulled me towards him. And just, like, I think just to kind of get me away from the other people, but it was just very intimate, and it was just, like, mere moments. But, like, I just remember thinking, oh my God, he, like, he put his arm around my waist. I mean, my waist, not here, and I just was like, when that happened, I was just like, okay, nothing really happened. He just put his arm, like, a split second around my waist to get me away from this crowd of people, and it's like, I didn't do anything wrong, but, like, I have these feelings now. So now I have these feelings for another man when I'm married. So, and unhappily married at the moment, because I'm already considering leaving him and just trying to find the right opportunity to do it. So, which I should have, like, this is my boss, like, what am I thinking? I wasn't, but that's not why I left Josh, because I didn't even get with T. I didn't even ask him out. I didn't even do that. I didn't even have the opportunity to do it. And me and my mom get in the car, and she's just going on about this Jared guy. She's like, did you see him? He's so cute. And I was like, I didn't know who? Yeah, he was buying us drinks. He brought us, like, 3 drinks. I'm like, he did? Like, I had no idea. I went to go pay my tab, and it was already paid. They're like, oh, somebody already paid it. I'm like, who? Somebody paid it. I don't know who. So anyway, cool. And I just couldn't stop talking about T. I was like, T put his arm around me. And I was like telling her, she's like, oh, you're acting like a schoolgirl. Like, you've liked him for a long time. I'm like, yeah, I know. But, like, I've never looked at him like this. And now it's like, I'm looking at him like this. I gotta stop this. But whatever's happening. But I just couldn't stop thinking about it. Literally mere days later, me and Josh have that fight, and he leaves, and we separate. And I did not pursue T right away. I did not. I mean, for one thing, I was a little sad. Sad. I just, like, separated from my husband of 14 years. And I wasn't really wanting to date, but I mean, I knew that I was interested in him, and maybe in the future, maybe if he showed me more interest, maybe, because I didn't want to fuck up my job and all this stuff. And I just was alone for a little bit there. Probably another week went by, and here comes Jared in my inbox. Hey, is a couple, maybe a week and a half after that show. Good morning, Amy. As busy as we both are, maybe you could find some time in your schedule and we could meet up for a beverage or a bite to eat. That is, if your mother approves, he says, because I brought my mom to the show. So I dated this guy, Jared, for a very short time. He introduced me to a lot of band people and got me a lot of gigs as far as doing screen printing for them. He was kind of a self-centered guy. He was the vocalist, the lead singer of the band, showman, so likes attention. but I don't know. He just didn't seem very interested in like anything about me. He always wanted to talk about himself. Like, I'm like, don't you want to know anything about me? He's like, I will. I'll learn it. And like, he was just like not. I wasn't used to it. I just got out of a 14-year relationship with a man that was so attentive to me, and this guy like was just like elusive, like would never text me. And I would like text him and like, are you mad at me? Like, and he would get mad at me. Like, I was like, dude, quit texting me. I was like, what? Like, you're not responding. I'm working. I'm like, oh. I mean, he just wasn't very nice to me. And for some reason, I liked him. A rebound, really. I'm glad. I mean, but I wanted to stay, even though it wasn't working out. I did want to stay friends with him. And he even said he wanted to stay friends with me and blah, blah, blah. And so we did. I was at my Aunt Marcy's, and I'm sitting there and I'm kind of, I was right after me and Jared split ways. I was like all like aggravated about it. Like, I should have just asked Tony out when I had the chance. And my sister was there. She always hears me talking about, oh, I should just ask T out when I had the chance. And so always hear me talking about T all the time, because I was like, man, I wish that he wasn't my boss and whatever. She's like, why don't you just text him, ask him if he wants to go out for some drinks? We're like sitting there at the table, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like, what if he says, like, what if he doesn't respond or says no or something? Like, now he would just not respond or block me or some ridiculous thing. This man, I'm telling you. My sister's like, give me your phone. So she takes my phone and she texts him. So my sister sent this at 3:30 on the 26th of November. Okay. She sent it for me. It says, hey, are you busy today? Was wondering if you're interested in getting some drinks, ? So that was at 3:29. He didn't answer till 3:35. So I remember thinking, oh my God, he's not going to answer me. He thinks I'm a psycho. And he says, sounds great. What time are you thinking? So it begins. So that started. And that's how we're going to end it. And I will see you for next season on February 1st with our first episode and our tragic love stories. I haven't decided on the name yet, but it'll just be announced shortly. But that's going to be the first episode. The relationship of me and T and how that goes. It's going to be a good time. I did want to say that what I go over in episode 1 of season 2 is what inspired me to start this podcast. So it's going to be a real page turner, it is. So I'll see you then. I hope that you enjoyed my life up until now. And when I say enjoyed, at least we're entertained by it, because there's lots of stuff that happened, and there's many more stories in the timeline of events that of things I've told you that we might touch on later in life, in different episode topics. So you'll get to hear more stuff, and you'll get to see more siblings. They will be back, and they will have stuff to talk about, and hopefully engage in the skits that I have planned for the future. So you guys stay tuned, like, subscribe, all that, and I'll see you for season 2 on February 1st.